What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another fantasy football video. Before we even hop into this one, just got to do some housekeeping. The private chat, you guys have got to get in that. We're cutting it off at the 300, and it's not just for right now asking questions. It's for before your drafts, during the season, because we're likely not going to be posting weekly videos on the channel. So you're not going to be able to ask questions during the year, like start-sit stuff. Everyone in the chat's going to get all of that whenever they want. So get in there. You can get trade stuff. You can get waiver wire stuff. All of that. Just go to Facebook, Fantasy Football Advice Private Chat. You're going to get in for free right now until we hit 300. Then, like I'm going to talk to in a second, you're going to have to get the premium rankings to get access to the site and to the private chat. But go to the website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. You can download our free rankings whenever you want. Again, they're not super updated right now because it's so early and so many things are going to happen to change all the rankings. We have initial rankings up right now for standard and PPR, but we don't have this like the updated rankings that they're going to be towards the end of the year. Really, if you want rankings for your draft, probably April. Once April hits, they're going to be like really solid rankings that are pretty much going to be what they are at the end of the year. So check them out in April. The premium rankings are probably going to be available sometime in July, and then they're going to be constantly updated every single week up until the regular season starts. Again, that's going to be $20. It's going to get you our premium rankings, which are they have the player write-up next to each and every player, top 65 for running backs and wide receivers. I think top 25 quarterbacks, top 25 tight ends. It's going to have a projection. It's going to have injury risk ratings. It's going to have lists of your best waiver or best late round picks, your bust list, all that kind of stuff. Plus, we're going to be writing articles during the week, and that's what I'm saying is you have to get into this chat because, and that's going to give you access to the chat, buying the premium rankings, because we're not going to be posting videos like we were last year. We're going to be writing articles. There's going to be a DFS article. There's going to be a waiver wire article. There's going to be a trade article. But you have to buy the premium rankings to get access to the site. So you just go ahead and do that. If you don't have the money and you don't want to buy that, you can download the rankings for free just like you could last year. It's the same exact thing as last year. It's just you're not going to have as much. You're just going to have the rankings that we have. But if you just want to do that, go to the site. You can do it right now. You literally click the screen and it downloads to your computer. Super easy. But this video we're going to start right now is when can you reach? And essentially, it's different for where you are in the draft. So if the way I look at it, if you're in round 7+, reach whenever you want. I'm not going to say reach like 4 rounds just because the value there, you're going to get the guy. And if you don't, someone else reached way too much. If you're in the 7th round and you're reaching on guys in the 12th, then that's a little too much. You're being a little jumpy there. But I'm going to say you can reach, honestly, 2 rounds. If you're in the 7th round on 2 rounds, go ahead and do it. Get the guys you want. But early in the draft, so the first 2 rounds, I'm going to say only a few spots. And I'm showing you guys data in a few slides that's going to back all of this up. But in the first 2 rounds of both 10 and 12 team, but almost every strategy video I make is based around 12 teams because that's the leagues I think people should be in for the most competition. But standard scoring PPR, it does not matter at all what your scoring system is. A few spots. The definition of a few is going to change between people, but for me, that's like 3 to 4, maybe 5. 5 is like pushing it. So you start off the draft, and the first 4 picks are in any order you want: Bell, DJ, Zeke, and Antonio Brown. Right? Those are the first 4 guys. There's no arguing it, unless you're talking about like a super flex league with like 8 quarterbacks. Like just in a normal league, those are the first 4 guys. So don't reach at all outside of that range. Then you kind of get to the Odell and the Julio guys, and those should be the next 2 picks, so I wouldn't reach there either. So now you're at pick 7. And there's kind of a drop-off here at pick 7 where there's a lot of debate around who should be the next guy, who should really be the next few guys. So that's when I say you can reach on ADP 3, 4, maybe 5 spots and be fine. But any more than the 5 spots once you're in that range is a little much. So then you kind of go down into, like, in a 12-team league, the 3rd round starts at 25, I believe, the 25th pick. You can't reach into the 3rd round when you're in the early 2nd round. And the data definitely backs that up, as I'm going to show in a second. But I'll go to that in a second. Once you hit the next few rounds, so 3 to 5, you can expand a little bit more because the expected value of these picks and the percentage of the time that these picks hit is much lower. So it's okay if you're in the 4th round to reach an entire round into the 5th round. It's not ideal. Obviously, you don't want to do that because if you can get your guy now and the guy that's going in the 5th round, that's more optimal than taking 2 guys in the 5th round. So like, you think about the NFL draft. Like, teams don't trade their 4th and 5th round picks for 2 5th round picks, or essentially trade your 4th round for a 5th round pick. But that's what you're doing when you're reaching. You're saying, I don't want these guys in the 4th. I'll take the guys in the 5th. Well, there's probably a reason that they're rated in the 4th round. When it's 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th round, honestly, there really isn't a reason. It's kind of arbitrary who's being taken. It's more guys that are taking guys maybe that their team plays for, maybe they're familiar with in the league, maybe rookies get a little hyped up so they go a little higher. But when you're in like the 1st and 2nd round, there's absolutely a reason those guys are there. So you need to be taking those guys. You can't be reaching into the 3rd, 4th, 5th round because as data shows, the percentage of the time that you're going to hit is a lot lower. So we're going to go into that now. But first 2 rounds, again, as kind of a recap, only a few spots. And when you're really high in the 1st round, 1 or 2 spots. That's the most you can do. Look at my rankings. Look at the tiers and the premium rankings. And they will show you can't be going outside of these tiers early on. That's where you're winning your leagues, is these first couple picks. But once you get outside of the first 2 rounds, into rounds 3 through 5, then you can start reaching a little bit more. You can start reaching a half of a round. Maybe like 7 or 8 picks ahead. That's fine. It's just I wouldn't go into a full round reaching. And again, I'm going to show you the data in a second, but I wouldn't go a full round just because then you're getting into the territory of maybe I could have gotten that guy with my next pick, whereas I'm in the 4th round right now, and let's say Terrell Pryor's on the board, and he's the next ranked player. Well, if you have to wait another round for your pick, you're not going to get him. I mean, there's a very small chance that a guy that's rated right where you're picking is going to be there in the next round. But the guy you're reaching for might be. So it's better to take the guy that's ranked right where you're picking than to reach ahead, because then you're just reaching ahead, and you turn into a draft where you've got 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round players instead of 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round players. It's just better. I'll show you now. I'll show you right now what I'm talking about. So this is the data that I gathered over the off season. It was for PPR leagues, and it was over the last 5 years. So what I defined as a successful pick was in a 12-team league, a running back or wide receiver that finished top 31. So 31 and under. And just for reference, Jamison Crowder was wide receiver 31. So he was considered a successful pick. And that's basically a startable option. Because remember, in a 12-team league, in a standard roster setting, you're going to have 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers. So there's 24. And then I'm assuming that half start a wide receiver and half start running back. So that adds up to 31 for each. Then the top 12 quarterbacks, top 12 tight ends, those are all starting options. So I said, per round, over the last 5 years, what percentage of players ended up in each round being startable options? And obviously, if you look at this chart, you can see the green is good and the red is bad, orange is somewhere in the middle, and I'm going to show a chart in a second because it's much easier to see. But you see the progression as the rounds get later and later, there's less and less of a chance. In some cases, there was a 0% chance or a 0 outcome that players were actually a startable option. And you see it here. Look at the first 2 rounds. It's between a 70 and an 80% chance that the guy you're taking right there is going to be a startable option. And honestly, the only cases where they weren't were really injury. I mean, there were some rare cases where you took a first-round guy and he ended up outside of the top 31, so 32 and more, and he played the entire season. I mean, it's very rare. So first 2 rounds, you got to kill it. Because look, that's the best chance you have. So if you dud, your second round pick flops. That's why I'm so adamant about Jay Ajayi this year and Melvin Gordon. I think that they, although they could be great, they have a higher risk than a lot of other players, and you have to kill it in those first 2 rounds. Because look at the 3rd round. There's a drop off. The 4th round goes back up, and I'm honestly unsure as to why the 5th round every single year. I notice this every single year. 5th round picks always tank. And I don't have like a 100% go-to really answer for this. Obviously, you think after the first 2 rounds, the third round is going to go down just because of the talent. I mean, you really look at it, and there's more risk in those third-round picks. You know, the first round, I mean, you've got studs. You've got guys that you know are going to be good unless they get hurt. Second round, I mean, there's a little more question marks, but they're pretty much still studs. It's once you hit that third and fourth round that the talent level kind of drops off. And I don't know if it's just a huge drop-off in the fifth round, but just kind of for reference, Keenan Allen, Devonta Adams, Spencer Ware, Dak Prescott, Eddie Lacy, those are the guys that are going in the fifth round right now. And it's just every year. I mean, you've got, honestly, under a 50% chance of hitting on that fifth round pick, which is why I'm saying, say you're in the fourth round. All right, over the years, it's been a 60 to 75% chance of hitting on a fourth round pick being a startable option. Well, if you're reaching into the fifth round, now technically your odds go down to about 40%. So even though you really like that player, look at the graph. Why would you want to reach a round ahead? Yes, you want to reach a round ahead in like the fifth round to the sixth round, technically. But again, this is a 5-year sample. Each year is going to have 12 picks. It's not a massive sample. But it does a good job at just showing you, I mean, add a trend line there. The trend line is down about, 5% per round? Which makes logical sense. And like I said before, once you hit that 7th round and more, really it's all within like 5%, and it's marginal. I mean, there's really no difference in the chance 7th round on of hitting on a startable option. So that's why I'm saying you can reach as far as you want within reason. Don't reach into the 12th round because, again, you can get those guys later. But once you hit the 7th round, don't be afraid. Do not be afraid at all. Don't be like, oh, I'm reaching around ahead. Don't be afraid. Take the guys you want because there's a reason you want them. You guys are smart players. You guys watching these videos, especially this early on, know a lot more than other people do. A lot of people go into these drafts like I used to do and do absolutely zero research. You already have the upper hand. So when you like a guy, stick with it. Even if you drafted a guy last year and he dudded. The John Browns of the world. The guys that you were super high on, that I was super high on. They dudded and now they're 12th round picks. If you're in the 9th, 10th round and you still like them, take them because there's a reason you liked them. I'm just saying, once you're in that 3 to 5 range, don't be reaching too far ahead because there's a reason those guys are ranked highly. There is a reason for that, and especially you need to be 100% confident in your first 2 round picks, so honestly don't reach. Yes, you can reach a couple picks because that's not really reaching. What I'm talking about is if you're reaching more than half a round in the first or second round, I mean, you're doing it wrong because the value isn't there. I am adamant about a few players. I think Jordan Howard's a very good player. I think that Jay Ajayi is a very good player. I think Melvin Gordon stinks, but I think that he has a lot of opportunity. These are 3 guys that likely I won't be drafting at any point in this year because I feel like people are reaching for them and that's driving up their ADP. Would I take them in the 3rd round? Yeah, absolutely, without any hesitation. But when you're asking me, and I don't know the exact ADPs on these guys right now, and it doesn't matter because it's all going to change come August. But if any of those guys are first round picks, that's a reach. It is because there are so many question marks. Look at the graph and tell me, if you dud your first 2 picks, how good your outlook looks. Because you need to kill it in the first 2 rounds. Jordan Howard is a great talent, but look at the offense. Look at how many games they're going to win. Do you want a running back on that team who doesn't catch passes? Remember, he cannot catch. He probably can, but he's not that good at it. Jay Ajayi is super injury prone. Let's say you draft Ajayi and Jordan Howard. Yes, you have upside. But there's a world where both of those guys end up outside the top 31. There is. And I want you guys to realize you have to be safe with these first 2 round picks. Safety is the number one thing. Yes, you need upside, but you got to be safe because the odds are that that guy, if he doesn't get hurt, is going to be a startable option. You need to lock up a startable option with these first 2 picks. So don't take guys that are super injury prone because that's really the only way they're not going to be startable options is if they get hurt. So if you take a guy who's literally never hurt, Antonio Brown, guys like that, they're going to be there. Yes, Antonio Brown had a down year last year, but he still won people leagues. So I just want you guys to realize the importance of the first 2 rounds, and then the significantly less importance of rounds 3 through 5. Still important, but significantly less important. And then honestly, the shots you just need to be taking 6, 7, 8, 9. Because remember, the 13th and 14th round, defense kicker. The 11th and 12th round, we're taking quarterback and tight end. You got to be taking shots in rounds 7, 8, and 9, and 10. 7, 8, 9, 10. You got to be taking shots. And again, watch the video I put out yesterday, or if you're watching this in August, find the video I talked about handcuffs, because it just, I am really adamant about this also, because like I don't understand what some people don't get about drafting these handcuffs. Like, drafting a handcuff is something that so many people do, and I honestly don't understand it. Watch the video if you want to talk about, or if you want to see the difference between a handcuff and standalone value. Guys like Derrick Henry, guys like Tevin Coleman, they have standalone value. They're not handcuffs because you can start them anyways. But a comment came up in the comments section about Marlon Mack, and the fact that if you're drafting Frank Gore in, I'm not sure what round he's actually going in, maybe, if I had to guess, like the 6th or 7th round, something like that, depending on your league size and scoring setting, but somewhere around there, like a middle round pick. And if you're drafting him, you have to take Marlon Mack just because he is free. I mean, honestly, he's free. I don't understand why he's so cheap right now. He's a great pick later in drafts. I mean, you think he's going undrafted. Yes, the guy's right. He's free. He's a great pick late. He's a terrible pick if you picked Frank Gore. There is no world in which Frank Gore and Marlon Mack are both starting on your team at the end of the year. No world. Honestly, the more likely world is you can't start either of them. Because Frank Gore is getting up there in age, but he's never hurt. He's played like every game in the last like 8 years. So if Gore doesn't get hurt, they're not just going to replace him. They're probably both going to get like 10 carries. Do you want that on your team? So you've now locked up either one dud or both duds in your 6th and 12th round picks. Seriously, you want that on your team? You want to lock up at least one dud and potentially multiple duds. That doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't understand the logic behind that. You want to be drafting teams with upside. Draft Marlon Mack, draft Frank Gore, just don't draft them on the same team. Because if you think Frank Gore is a great pick, how could you think that Marlon Mack is also a great pick? When you're playing DFS, do you pick your quarterback and then the defense against your quarterback? No, because if you like one, how can you like the other? How can you think Frank Gore is a great pick, but then be like, oh, Marlon Mack's a good pick too? One of them might be good, both of them might be bad, but both of them can't be good. So if you like Marlon Mack, pick Marlon Mack. If you like Frank Gore, pick Frank Gore, but you can't like them both. It makes no sense. They're on the same team playing the same position. They're not Tevin Coleman and Devonta Freeman. They're not both going to be up there and massively in touchdowns with massive yardage and everything. Like, no, that's not going to happen between these two guys. So when you're drafting handcuffs, don't draft your own handcuff. Draft someone else's handcuff. And there really aren't that many pure handcuffs anyways. If you watch the video, you'll understand that. A lot of guys that are handcuffs, or at least potentially getting you points, are third down backs that aren't even going to be getting the bulk of the carries. You know, it's not like every running back has a situation where it's Lev Bell and D'Angelo Williams of the last couple of years, where you know if Lev Bell go down, you have an RB1. I mean, that was just like a freak scenario that isn't the case this year. But yeah, that was like the one handcuff scenario. But if you just drafted one of the guys, let's say Lev Bell goes down halfway through the year, that means your Lev Bell pick was bad. If he gets hurt in week 8, let's just run through the scenario. You draft Lev Bell and D'Angelo Williams. I know this isn't the point of this video, but it's good for you guys to know this stuff. Let's say Lev Bell goes down week 8, and you drafted D'Angelo Williams, and now he's an RB1 for the rest of the year. And you're like, cool, I locked up an RB1 for the entire year. Yes, you did do that. But your first round pick was bad. And your team would have been much better if you picked David Johnson and D'Angelo Williams, and you had 2 RB1s for the entire year. Because drafting Lev Bell and D'Angelo Williams ensures that one of those picks was bad. And I don't want to go out of a draft ensuring I have multiple bad picks. I want to leave my draft saying I think I have all good picks. So that's just the point I wanted to get across in this video. I just threw that last part on because I saw some things in the comment section. I don't think you guys fully understand it. If you still want to talk about it, you can leave comments in the comment section, but just go through this video and try and completely understand it, because you can reach. It's just how far are you reaching when you're doing it. And then the later part, don't be drafting handcuffs. It limits your upside, and we're trying to win, not get 4th place. If you want to lock up 4th place, draft a handcuff and get none of your buy back in and don't win the championship. It's fine by me. I won't be drafting handcuffs because I want every one of my picks to work out. Do I know all my picks are going to work out? No, obviously not. Obviously, we're going to have dud picks and we're going to be able to drop them. But you're also going to be apprehensive about dropping your handcuff, and you're just going to be holding up a random roster spot and a guy that's just doing nothing, and you're just ensuring that one of your picks is bad. It makes no sense. Anyways, that's just my rant for the day. That's the end of this video. On the screen, you can subscribe. You can watch a video that YouTube thinks is good for you. You can check out our website, check out some free articles, check out our rankings you can download. But that's the end of this video, and thanks for watching.